Okay, are you ready?
Yep, I think so.
I mean, I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, let me just pull up my page here. I'm just going to talk like this the whole entire time.
Sounds great.
Okay, I got my side piece here.
Okay.
And
Oh, wait. Let's do
oh,
that.
hey guys, wow. I'm just so used to us talking like this whole entire time that
I
I'm just
know.
going to continue on as if it's a part of yours, but it's not.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like everybody's just sitting here with us anyway.
Right. Hey guys, story time. Welcome. Just gather around.
Yeah, just come on, guys. Let's hang out.
Find a seat if you can.
Okay, so this is the Witches, Magic, Murder, and Mystery podcast.
I am Kara.
And I am Megan.
Heyo.
Okay, now let's get Kara to tell her story.
Yep, I'm so ready to tell this story. It's a quick little story, but I thought it needed to be told because it's Kentucky related.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I love those.
Megan, did you know that Charles Manson had ties to Kentucky?
I feel like I've heard it somewhere, but I can't remember what the ties are at all.
Okay. For those of you that don't know who Charles Manson is, crazy cult leader.
In case you've been living under a rock.
Literally a rock with moss all over it.
Yeah, I mean, he's awful. Exactly. He's a monster. We don't really need to talk about what he did. We just know he was awful.
He is famous for his Tate LaBianca murders in 1969. He was just a horrible person, and his followers did some horrible things.
Yes, to say the least.
And he died at the age of 83 in prison of just natural causes. But it is said that Charles Manson's parents are from Boyd County in Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
And it says that Boyd County doesn't really like to claim the ties to him, but they do.
Why not? No. What a surprise.
No. And there's a historian at the library that says he keeps historical files on Manson. And he's quoted saying, "We do it mainly to debunk the urban legends."
Okay.
So for those people that are like...
Just to take care of all the stuff.
For those people that are like, oh, he was just in Kentucky to do this, or he, didn't even come from Kentucky. This is this. Okay. This is this.
So now we know what's true.
Like, these people have done a ton of research. So he said that after Manson died in prison, media, newspapers, all these things started stopping by the library to just go through, like even TV stations started to go through those files that he had on Manson. Okay. So he was just like, we've had a lot of it, but here's the story. So Manson's mother, Kathleen, was supposedly born in Moorhead, Kentucky. Okay. She was the daughter of a railroad conductor, Charles Maddox, and his wife, Nancy. And then the family moved to Ashland. And she grew up in, imagine this, Megan, a really strict religious family. What? That never happens. Never happens to people.
That always turns out well.
Who could imagine something like this happening? Okay, so her dad died in 1931 when she was 13. And when she was 16... she started hanging out at the nightclub called the Ritzy Rays.
The Ritzy Rays?
The Ritzy Rays, yeah. Yeah. And Manson was quoted saying his mom was a very pretty lady. She was barely 5 feet tall, and he himself was only 5'2".
Charles Manson was only 5'2"? Really?
Yeah.
I don't know why I pictured him being tall.
I know. Ritzy Rays kind of started Mom's career. Okay. And lifestyle. So she met a gentleman there, Colonel Scott of Cattlesburg. And listen, he's not called Colonel because of his military rank. No. That's just the name that his parents gave him.
Fried chicken?
Yeah, probably. He is Colonel Sanders. But okay, allegedly. So people believe this is Manson's dad, but it hasn't. Some articles say yes, some articles say no. Yeah. And so in some articles, this guy is just like a labor worker, and he was working on a dam project, and Kathleen told him that she was pregnant, and he's like, peace out, A-Town. I'm not doing this.
Of course.
So, yeah. They split up. She filed and won a paternity suit against him. But I mean, back then, what were DNA tests? Like, how?
Yeah, who really knows?
So he was ordered to pay a small amount of child support, which he did not end up paying, and he left to go work for the Baltimore and Ohio Railway, and he got married a couple more times, had some more kids, and then he died at the age of 44 of cirrhosis. So that guy's out of the picture.
Okay.
Never saw his son, supposed son, whatever.
Okay, so he wasn't really a dad.
So little Manson's just with his single mom, living her lifestyle. And she decides to move to Cincinnati. Well, actually, no, he's not born yet. Kathleen moved to Cincinnati before Manson's born. Listen, I'm hard to follow.
Okay, so Charles didn't know him at all.
When he died, no.
Okay.
Like, he moved on and married a couple more times. Like,
before Charles was even born.
Yeah. But they split up, and then he died later on in his life. But the little Manson never met his dad.
Got it.
Because mom moved to Cincinnati, and Manson's birth certificate has no name Maddox.
No name Maddox.
Yeah.
Oh, no name.
Yeah.
That's kind of sad.
I know. So later, mom gives him the name Charles Miles Maddox, because, like, after her dad that passed away when she was 13.
Okay. Kara.
Yep.
You have to come up with a name for your baby.
She
has to have a name.
She does.
She cannot be no name.
No name.
No.
No name on the birth certificate.
She cannot have this in common with Charles Manson.
Yeah, I can't. That would be a lot. That would be stressful.
Yes.
No, we got to name her real soon.
It is really hard to name a baby, you guys. We're having a really hard time.
I'm really struggling with this. Okay. So, mom remarried, or she wasn't married. Mom meets a new guy, marries him, William Eugene Manson. And these articles say that this is where Charles got the last name Manson. Other articles are like, no, he claimed he was Manson because he was a man's son.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay.
No,
whatever.
it's just Charles Manson being weird on purpose. He just wants to be like, guys. I'm a man's son.
He's like, this is what it is, yeah. And so, then mom and William Eugene Manson divorced 3 years later. And mom starts just drinking and doing things and living a promiscuous lifestyle.
Okay.
And she moves to Ashland. Moves back to Kentucky with her mom.
Okay.
And
with Charles?
Yep. Little Charles goes with her.
Okay.
There is this article that I thought was interesting, and I wanted to add it in here. So pause right there where mom has moved back in with mom in Ashland. And there's this guy, his name's Gil Griggs. He is like he's like a collector of all like old things and like murder related things, and he does auctions with them.
Okay.
And he has like a catalog that he sends out called Signature House Catalog. And it really has like all of these old things. Well, in one of the catalogs, there are things from Charles Manson in there. So this guy in Hindman, Kentucky.
Oh, I've been there.
I know. I actually dated a guy from there.
Wow, that's one of the places that got hit really hard by the flood.
I know.
So we took food there.
Yeah. Okay, anyways, he's with a newspaper called the Troublesome Creek Times. And he is just like, listen, Mr. Auctioneer, I actually wrote a letter to Charles Manson asking him if he has childhood memories of these specific places in Kentucky. He said, Dear Charles, I wrote, I have heard that you visited Knott County, Kentucky, and the Blue Moon Inn or the Blue Moon Cafe, which no longer exists, but I've been told you visited that vicinity. I would appreciate a response. So he doesn't hear from him, and I'm sure it's because Charles Manson got so many letters.
Yeah, he got so many letters. Good Lord.
So he never thought anything of it until he gets a hold of this auctioneer's catalog. And he's like, I'm sorry, I see something in here.
Oh.
In a letter from Manson about a Blue Moon Cafe. I literally wrote him and asked specifically, does he remember these places or did he have any ties to it? And it said Charles Manson in the letter had circled the words Blue Moon Cafe and wrote next to it, "Mom worked there after she got out of prison. I was 5 or 6. Law and order border town," in quotations.
Oh, so it's like he was writing back to him.
Yeah. So they went back and forth, and the guy was like, "You know what? I'm not gonna auction these off. Like, I'm gonna do you a solid. Like, let's come to terms on this." And so the newspaper guy ends up getting a hold of that letter. He had to pay him $100 for it.
Of course.
And he got it just so he could, like, have it and, like, hang it up.
Yeah.
And just, like, knowing that, oh my gosh, Charles Manson, like, actually wrote me back. Okay, so this is where this ties in. The Blue Moon restaurant, or cafe, or whatever it was, really did have ties to Charles Manson in Knott County. So at the time, in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, it was referred to as Blue Moon. It still kind of stands between Hindman and Knott County, Kentucky.
Okay.
It's shut down. It's abandoned. Like, people go in it and try to, like, find cool stuff. But
of course, yeah.
It's nothing now. And it says it got its name from the Blue Moon Mountain, which still stands today. And it says it was a restaurant, and it was also a front for illegal sales of whiskey and moonshine and sex workers. Yeah.
And
it
his
was
mom,
a really
and his mom
fun
worked
place
there.
to be. Yeah.
Okay.
Mama worked there. Not only did she work there, they lived there.
Oh. In the cafe?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So, he had some relatives living in town that would babysit, but they all just kind of, like, hung around. Local law enforcement was no help whatsoever because also they hung around there too. But get this, in one interview, Manson he said that he, like, remembers this so vividly. It was a moment when he was little and he was sitting with his mom and she had just gotten out of prison. And she was just, like, hugging on him. And he said they were at the cafe one afternoon. He said, "My mom was in a cafe one afternoon with me on her lap. The waitress, a would-be mother without a child of her own, jokingly told my mom she'd buy me from her. Mom replied, 'A pitcher of beer and he's yours.'"
God.
He said...
I mean, what sort of thing is that to say in front of him?
I mean, like, what on earth? The woman took him.
What?
Like, Mom sold him for a pitcher of beer. The woman took him, and then several days later, he said his uncle had to search the town for that waitress and take me home. Take him back to Mom.
What? I hate that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Charles Manson, but still, that's so sad. He's still a kid.
Right, exactly. And then there's this blog writer that posted this thing. I found it kind of interesting. I didn't put the whole thing on here, but I put the link to his article.
Okay.
I saw it on one of the Kentucky historical pages or something where he had also mentioned Manson. And this guy's name is Joe Clark.
Okay.
It was written on September 10th, 2022. He said, "Last year I learned that Manson was my 9th cousin once removed."
Ooh.
He said, "So, though very distant, when I found there was a little bit of an ancestral connection, I began digging into the Manson's Kentucky beginnings." And at the end of it, he was like, "In closing, I want to clear up a rumor that I've heard time and time again." So this is where that librarian was like, "Listen, there are so many things out there about his Kentucky ties." I don't know if you've heard this one. I had actually heard this one before, but his uncle that was in Ashland, it was a rumor that Manson had killed him.
Oh. No, I've never heard that.
And he said the Los Angeles Police Department was able to prove that Manson was not in Kentucky at the time of his uncle's murders.
Oh, okay.
He's like, "So I hope this clears up some misconceptions and rumors about the Manson Kentucky roots." So his roots are really his mom's family and him living at this little cafe.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So he didn't really live here long.
No.
It was just kind of like he grew up here, spent part of his childhood here.
Yeah, I just thought
What was his mom's name again?
Let me scroll back up here to the top. Kathleen Maddox.
Okay, Maddox. I was just thinking about my family tree.
You're like, "Oh God, am I really?"
Yeah. Looking at my 23andMe. Wouldn't that be a weird surprise to find out?
Yes.
I don't think I have any family in Ashland or anything like that at all that I know of. I mean, I do have family in Eastern Kentucky.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh man, maybe I should go look. Papa has some. I feel like that would have popped up.
Yeah, I think you'd know that by now.
From Ashland.
Yeah.
I feel like we're on the good side of it.
I'm sure you are. But yeah, thank you for telling me about that. I didn't know. I feel like I'd heard stuff about his Kentucky roost, but I didn't know a lot about it.
Yeah. A little wild ride. No, like, really murders in that, but we know what he does.
I mean, it's interesting to hear about who he was as a child. And it's like, I don't want to have much sympathy for Charles Manson, right? But like, at one point, he was just a little boy. And we all know little boys, right? Who...
Right, exactly.
He just had all the same needs that any little kid has, just to feel safe and loved and wanted. And, you know, did he have that ever? Did he ever feel safe and loved and wanted?
I know.
And would it have helped anything? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I know.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that story with us. And we'll be back Friday with another episode.
With another one.
We love you
So much.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.